Emma Wilson has fought tooth and nail to keep her family farm, refusing to bow to wealthy developers. But when a rugged farmhand, Nathan Carter, arrives offering help, she never expects his secrets to be the biggest threat of all. Who is he really, and why does he care so much about her land? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun peeked through Emma Wilson's bedroom curtains, signaling another day of hard work on Willow Creek Farm. At 32, Emma had spent her entire life on this land. The farm had been in her family for 3 generations, and after her parents' passing 5 years ago, it became her responsibility to keep it running. Emma rolled out of bed, pulled her long brown hair into a simple ponytail, and dressed in her usual work clothes, faded jeans, a plaid button-up shirt and worn boots. She glanced at herself in the mirror and sighed. Not that it mattered what she looked like. The only ones who would see her today were her animals. The animals. They needed feeding. Emma hurried downstairs, grabbed a quick breakfast of toast and coffee and headed out to the barn. The familiar smells of hay and animals greeted her as she pushed open the heavy wooden door. "Good morning, everyone," she called out to the cows, who mooed in response. Her border collie, Max, trotted alongside her, eager to help with the morning chores. As she milked the cows, Emma hummed softly to herself. Despite the financial struggles and endless work, she loved this life. The connection to the land, the animals that depended on her, the satisfaction of growing things with her own hands. It gave her purpose. If only the rest of Meadow Springs understood that. In town, Emma was viewed as little more than a curiosity, the stubborn farm girl who refused to sell her land to developers. The wealthy elite of Meadow Springs, with their designer clothes and fancy cars, looked down on her muddy boots and calloused hands. They whispered behind her back about how she was wasting prime real estate on cows and corn. Victoria Blackwell was the worst of them all. As the mayor's wife and self-appointed queen of local society, Victoria never missed an opportunity to remind Emma of her place at the bottom of the social ladder. Emma finished her morning chores and loaded her truck with fresh vegetables and eggs to sell at the farmer's market. Saturday markets were crucial for her income, even if it meant enduring Victoria and her friends' thinly veiled insults. The town square was already bustling when Emma arrived. She quickly set up her modest stand, arranging her produce in neat rows. Before long, her first customers approached, mostly regular folks who appreciated quality, locally grown food. "Emma, how are you, dear?" Mrs. Jenkins, a kind elderly woman, greeted her warmly. "I've been waiting all week for your tomatoes." Emma smiled, grateful for the friendly face. "They're extra good this week, Mrs. Jenkins. I picked them fresh this morning." As Mrs. Jenkins selected her vegetables, a shadow fell across the stand. Emma looked up to see Victoria Blackwell and her 2 friends, all dressed in expensive casual wear that probably cost more than Emma's monthly mortgage payment. "Ladies, be careful with those vegetables," Victoria said loudly. "I'm not sure they've been properly washed. You know how it is with farm people." She emphasized the last words as if they were dirty. Victoria's friends giggled, and one of them added, "I wouldn't touch anything here without gloves." Emma's cheeks burned with humiliation, but she kept her composure. "My produce is thoroughly cleaned, Victoria. Not that you've ever bothered to try it." Victoria raised a perfectly shaped eyebrow. "Why would I? Marcus imports all our produce from California, only the best for our family." She glanced at Emma's simple stand with disdain, "Though I suppose this quaint little setup works for some people." "Some of us prefer food that hasn't traveled halfway across the country," Emma replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Victoria laughed. "Oh, Emma, always so defensive about your little farm. You know, Marcus's development company would still make you a generous offer for that land. You could finally buy yourself some decent clothes." She gave Emma's outfit a pointed look. "My farm isn't for sale," Emma said firmly. "Never has been, never will be." Victoria shrugged. "Suit yourself. Enjoy playing in the dirt while the rest of us live in the real world." With a flip of her expensively highlighted hair, she walked away, her friends trailing behind her. Mrs. Jenkins patted Emma's hand sympathetically. "Don't you mind them, dear. Some people are so wealthy they've forgotten what matters." Emma forced a smile. Thanks, Mrs. Jenkins. The rest of the market day passed without incident, but Victoria's words had reopened old wounds. On the drive home, Emma couldn't help but wonder if she was fooling herself. Was she just stubbornly clinging to a dying way of life? The farm barely broke even most months, and she was one bad season away from serious trouble. She pushed those thoughts aside as she pulled up to her farmhouse. This land was her heritage, her home. She wouldn't give it up for all of Victoria Blackwell's. Designer handbags, Emma was unloading her truck when Max started barking excitedly. She looked up to see a dusty pickup truck coming down her driveway. She wasn't expecting visitors. The truck stopped, and a man stepped out, tall with broad shoulders and light brown hair that caught the afternoon sun. He was dressed in worn jeans and a simple t-shirt that hinted at a well-built frame underneath. Handsome in a rugged, unpretentious way, with a face that looked like it smiled often. Emma approached cautiously, Max at her side. "Can I help you?" The man smiled, revealing dimples that softened his strong jawline. "I hope so. I'm Nathan Carter. I heard you might be looking for help around the farm." Emma frowned. "Where did you hear that?" "Mrs. Jenkins at the farmer's market. She mentioned you were working this place alone and might appreciate an extra pair of hands." He held up his own hands, large with calluses that spoke of hard work. Emma hesitated. She could use help, especially with the summer harvest coming, but she couldn't afford to pay much. "I don't need charity," she said firmly. Nathan's smile didn't waver. "Good, because I'm not offering any. I need work and I'm good with my hands. I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, so I know my way around one." Something about his straightforward manner made Emma want to trust him, and she really could use the help. "The pay isn't much," she warned. Nathan shrugged. "I've got a place to stay, in town. Just need enough to cover food and gas." More interested in the work than the money, Emma studied him. Who was this man who seemed to appear just when she needed help? It seemed too convenient, but she couldn't deny she was struggling to manage everything alone. "Trial basis," she said finally. "1 week, then we'll see." Nathan's smile widened. "That's fair. When do I start?" "Tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. Don't be late." "Yes, ma'am," he said with a mock salute that made Emma fight back a smile. As she watched him drive away, Emma wondered if she'd made a mistake. The last thing she needed was complications, and something told her that Nathan Carter might be exactly that. The next morning, Emma was surprised to find Nathan already waiting by the barn when she came out at 4:55 a.m. "You're early," she said, unable to keep the approval from her voice. Nathan grinned. "My dad always said 5 minutes early is on time. On time is late." "Smart man. Your dad." "He was," Nathan replied, a flicker of sadness crossing his face before his smile returned. "So where do we start, boss?" Emma led him through the morning routine, feeding the animals, milking the cows, collecting eggs from the chicken coop. Nathan proved to be a quick learner and genuinely seemed to enjoy the work. By mid-morning, they had accomplished what would normally take Emma most of the day. "You've done this before," Emma remarked as they took a water break. Nathan wiped sweat from his brow. "Told you I grew up on a farm, haven't been on one in years, but some things you don't forget." "Why'd you leave?" Emma asked, curious about this man who seemed so at ease in her world. A shadow passed over Nathan's face. "Family farm went under after my dad died. Big agricultural companies moved in, drove prices down. Mom couldn't keep up with the loans." He shrugged. "The usual story." Emma nodded sympathetically. She knew that story all too well. It was happening all over the country. "What brought you to Meadow Springs?" Not exactly a hotbed of farming opportunities. Nathan took a long drink of water before answering. "Just passing through to be honest, needed a break from my last job. Saw this place, liked the feel of it. Thought I might stay a while." There was something he wasn't saying, but Emma didn't press. Everyone had their secrets, their pasts, as long as he worked hard and didn't cause trouble. His reasons for being here were his business. Over the next few days, Nathan proved his worth many times over. He fixed the tractor that had been giving Emma trouble for months, repaired fences, and even helped her expand the vegetable garden. He worked tirelessly from dawn until dusk, never complaining. What surprised Emma most was how easy it was to talk to him. During lunch breaks or while working side by side in the fields, conversation flowed naturally. Nathan was interested in the farm, in her plans and challenges. He asked thoughtful questions and offered suggestions without being pushy. By the end of the week, Emma couldn't imagine the farm without him. "Trial's up," Nathan said Friday evening as they sat on her porch, drinking lemonade after a long day's work. "Do I pass?" Emma looked out over her farm, the neatly mended fences, the thriving crops, the content animals. Things hadn't looked this good in years. "You pass," she said. "If you still want the job, it's yours." Nathan's smile lit up his face. "I want it." Something warm fluttered in Emma's chest at his words, at the way he looked at her farm with genuine appreciation. It had been a long time since anyone had understood what this place meant to her. "Good," she said simply, but found herself smiling back at him. As the summer progressed, Emma and Nathan fell into a comfortable routine. They worked well together, anticipating each other's needs, sharing the load that had once fallen entirely on Emma's shoulders. The farm began to thrive under their combined efforts. One evening, after they'd finished the chores and were walking back to the house, Nathan stopped suddenly. "Emma, there's a summer festival in town tomorrow night. Would you want to go? Together?" Emma looked at him in surprise. Was he asking her on a date? The thought made her nervous and excited all at once. "I don't really do town events," she said hesitantly. "Victoria Blackwell and her crowd will be there." Nathan frowned. "The mayor's wife? What's she got to do with anything?" Emma sighed and explained about Victoria, about the way the town's elite looked down on her, about the constant pressure to sell her land. Nathan's expression darkened as she spoke. "That's not right," he said firmly. "You work harder than anyone I've ever met. They should respect that, not mock it." His defense of her touched Emma deeply. "It's just how it's always been," she said with a shrug, trying to pretend it didn't hurt. "Well, it shouldn't be." Nathan stepped closer, his eyes serious. "Come to the festival with me, Emma. Show them you're not intimidated. Besides," he added with a grin, "I make a pretty good shield against snobby comments." Emma laughed, despite herself. "You're not going to let this go, are you?" "Not a chance." "Fine," she conceded, "but don't say I didn't warn you." The next evening, Emma stood in front of her mirror, fretting over her appearance in a way she hadn't in years. She'd chosen her best sundress, a simple blue cotton one. That brought out her eyes, and had even put on a touch of makeup. Her hair hung loose around her shoulders, instead of in its usual practical ponytail. She looked nice. Not glamorous like Victoria and her friends, but presentable. It would have to do. Nathan was waiting for her downstairs, and the appreciation in his eyes when he saw her made Emma blush. "You look beautiful," he said simply. "It's just an old dress," she demurred. Nathan shook his head. "It's not the dress." The festival was in full swing when they arrived at the town square. Colored lights were strung between trees, food vendors lined the perimeter, and a local band played on a small stage. Families with children, teenagers, and couples of all ages mingled in the warm summer evening. Emma tensed as they entered the crowd, feeling exposed and out of place. Nathan seemed to sense her discomfort and placed a reassuring hand at the small of her back, guiding her through the throng. "Relax," he whispered close to her ear. "You look like you're walking into battle." "Feels that way sometimes," she admitted. They were at the lemonade stand when Emma heard the familiar cutting voice. "Well, look who's decided to join civilization tonight. Emma Wilson, as I live and breathe." Emma turned to see Victoria approaching, dressed in an expensive-looking white dress that probably cost more than Emma's monthly mortgage payment. Her husband Marcus, the mayor, was at her side, looking uncomfortable as always in his wife's shadow. "Hello, Victoria," Emma said evenly. "Nice evening for a festival." Victoria's eyes slid to Nathan, and her expression changed from disdain to interest. "And who is this? I don't believe we've met." "Nathan Carter," Nathan said before Emma could speak, extending his hand politely. "I'm working at Willow Creek Farm." Victoria took his hand, holding it a moment longer than necessary. How rustic. I'm Victoria Blackwell, and this is my husband, Mayor Marcus Blackwell. We're practically Meadow Springs royalty. She laughed lightly at her own joke. Marcus nodded awkwardly. Nice to meet you, young man. Victoria was still eyeing Nathan with open appreciation. You don't look like a farmer, she said. What brings someone like you to our little town? There was something in her tone that made Emma uncomfortable, as if Victoria was trying to figure Nathan out, categorize him. Just needed a change of pace, Nathan replied easily. And Emma's farm is the perfect place for that. She's doing amazing things there. Emma felt a rush of gratitude at his words, at the way he purposefully redirected the conversation to praise her work. But Victoria wasn't interested in Willow Creek Farm. I'm sure it's quaint, Victoria said dismissively. But a man like you must have bigger ambitions than shoveling manure. She touched his arm lightly. You should come to our charity gala next weekend. It would be a chance to meet people who could offer you more suitable opportunities. The implication was clear. Nathan was too good for farm work, too good for Emma's world. Before Emma could react, Nathan placed his arm around her waist, drawing her closer to his side. Thank you for the invitation, Mrs. Blackwell, but I'm exactly where I want to be. Emma's giving me a chance to be part of something real and meaningful. That's worth more than any fancy opportunity. Victoria's smile froze, her eyes narrowing slightly as they flickered between Nathan and Emma. Well, the invitation stands if you change your mind, she said stiffly before turning to her husband. Marcus, I see the Hendersons. We should say, hello. As they walked away, Emma let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. See, I told you they were awful. Nathan gave her waist a gentle squeeze before releasing her. You were right about Victoria, but you were wrong about something else. What's that? The idea that you don't belong here. This is your town too, Emma, and from what I can see, you contribute a lot more to it than Victoria Blackwell ever will. The warmth in his eyes made Emma's heart skip. For the first time, she allowed herself to acknowledge the feelings that had been growing since Nathan arrived. She was falling for him, this kind, hard-working man who saw value in the things she valued, who defended her without making her feel weak. But was it wise to let these feelings grow? Nathan had said himself he was just passing through. Eventually he would move on, and she would be left alone again with her farm and her memories. Better to keep things professional, to guard her heart. Let's get some food, she suggested, stepping away slightly. I'm starving. The rest of the evening passed pleasantly. They ate festival food, watched the local talent show, and even danced a little when the band played slower songs. Nathan kept a respectful distance after that moment of closeness during the confrontation with Victoria, but Emma was acutely aware of him, his laugh, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, how his hand would occasionally brush against hers as they walked. It was nearly midnight when they finally headed home, the night air cool after the warmth of the day. They drove in comfortable silence, Emma watching the familiar landscape pass by in the darkness. Thank you for coming with me tonight, Nathan said as they pulled up to the farmhouse. I had a great time. Even with the Victoria Blackwell experience, Emma teased. Nathan laughed, especially that part. The look on her face when I turned down her opportunity was priceless. Emma smiled, but it faded quickly. She'll make you regret that, you know. Victoria doesn't take rejection well. I'm not worried about Victoria Blackwell, Nathan said confidently. People like her don't scare me. There was something in his tone, a certainty that seemed to come from experience with such people. Once again, Emma had the feeling there was more to Nathan Carter than met the eye, but she didn't ask. Everyone was entitled to their secrets. Well, I'm glad you're not scared off, she said instead. The farm needs you. I need you, she almost added, but caught herself in time. Nathan walked her to the door, pausing on the porch steps. The moonlight cast soft shadows across his face as he looked down at her. Emma, he said softly, I want you to know something. What I said to Victoria wasn't just talk. I really am exactly where I want to be. The intensity in his eyes made Emma's breath catch. He was standing so close now, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him, could smell the clean scent of his soap mixed with the summer night air. For a moment, she thought he might kiss her. Part of her wanted him to. Wanted to know if his lips would be as gentle as his hands, if he would hold her as carefully as he handled the newborn calves. But Nathan stepped back, breaking the spell. "Good night, Emma," he said, his voice a little rough. "See you in the morning." "Good night," she whispered, watching as he walked back to his truck. As she lay in bed that night, Emma told herself she was being foolish. Nathan was her employee, her friend. Nothing more. He would eventually move on, find his real path in life. And Willow Creek Farm would just be a pleasant memory for him, but her heart refused to listen to these sensible arguments. For the first time in years, Emma allowed herself to dream, not just about saving the farm, but about sharing it with someone who might come to love it as she did, someone who might come to love her. Little did she know that Nathan Carter was harboring secrets that would soon turn her world upside down, secrets that would test her newfound feelings and force her to question everything she thought she knew about him. 3 weeks had passed since the town festival, and life on Willow Creek Farm had fallen into a comfortable routine. Emma and Nathan worked from sunrise to sunset, their bodies moving in sync as they tended to the animals, mended fences, and harvested summer vegetables. But something had changed between them. That almost kiss on her porch had created a tension that hung in the air whenever they were alone together. Emma caught Nathan watching her when he thought she wasn't looking, his eyes filled with an emotion she was afraid to name. And she found herself making excuses to be near him, asking for help with simple tasks she could easily handle alone, lingering over shared meals, laughing at his jokes a little too eagerly. "You're being ridiculous," Emma muttered to herself, as she collected eggs from the chicken coop one morning. "He's your employee, nothing more." Talking to the chickens again, Nathan's voice startled her, and she nearly dropped the basket of eggs. Emma turned to find him leaning against the doorframe, looking unfairly handsome in the golden morning light. His t-shirt clung to his broad shoulders, and his smile made her heart do a silly little flip. "They're better listeners than most people," she replied, trying to sound casual. Nathan chuckled. "Fair enough. What deep secrets are you sharing with them today?" "Nothing important." Emma brushed past him, careful not to let their bodies touch. "The tractor's acting up again. Think you can take a look?" "Sure thing, boss." There was a hint of something in his voice, amusement, frustration, but his smile remained easy and warm. Later that afternoon, while Nathan was working on the tractor, Emma's phone rang. She didn't recognize the number, but answered anyway. "Hello? Emma Wilson?" a crisp, professional voice asked. "Yes, that's me." "This is James Rogers from National Agricultural Bank. I'm calling about your loan application." Emma's heart sank. She'd applied for a loan to upgrade some of the farm equipment, but she hadn't been hopeful. Banks weren't exactly lining up to invest in small family farms these days. "Mr. Rogers, thank you for calling. I wanted to inform you personally that your application has been approved." Emma nearly dropped the phone. "I'm sorry. Did you say approved?" "Yes, Ms. Wilson, the full amount you requested. The funds should be available by the end of the week." Emma stared at the wall in shock. "I don't understand. Last time I applied, you said my operation was too small, too risky." "Well, things change, Ms. Wilson. Our bank has a new initiative to support family farms. Your application was selected as an ideal candidate." After a few more minutes of stunned conversation, Emma hung up, still unable to believe her luck. She'd been scraping by for so long, putting off necessary upgrades because she simply couldn't afford them. This loan would change everything. She rushed out to tell Nathan the good news, finding him with his head under the tractor's hood. "Nathan, you're never going to believe what just happened." He straightened up quickly, too quickly, banging his head on the hood. "Ouch! What's got you so excited?" Emma was too thrilled to notice his odd reaction or the way he wiped his hands nervously on his jeans. "The bank approved my loan, the one they've rejected 3 times already." That's great, Emma." Nathan's smile seemed a little forced. "You deserve it." "It doesn't make any sense," Emma continued, pacing back and forth. "Nothing's changed with the farm's finances. Why would they suddenly approve it now?" Nathan shrugged, focusing intently on the tractor engine. Maybe they finally recognized the value in what you're doing here. Banks don't work that way, Emma said, but she was too happy to question her good fortune for long. We need to celebrate. Let's go into town for dinner tonight. My treat. Nathan wiped a smudge of grease from his cheek, leaving a dark streak that Emma found inexplicably endearing. You don't have to do that. I want to. Emma surprised herself by reaching out to wipe away the grease streak with her thumb. His skin was warm under her touch, and for a moment neither of them moved. Please. Something flashed in Nathan's eyes. Guilt. But it was gone so quickly, Emma thought she'd imagined it. Dinner sounds great, he said softly. Later, that evening, Emma put on her one nice dress and a touch of makeup. She'd suggested the only upscale restaurant in Meadow Springs, a place she normally wouldn't set foot in because it was a favorite of Victoria's crowd. But tonight was special, and Emma refused to let Victoria Blackwell dictate where she could celebrate her good news. Nathan was waiting by his truck, looking unexpectedly polished in dark jeans and a button-down shirt. His hair was neatly combed, and he'd shaved the stubble that usually shadowed his jawline. You clean up nice, farmhand, Emma teased, trying to hide how his appearance affected her. Nathan gave a little bow. You look beautiful, Emma. Their eyes met, and for a breathless moment Emma thought he might kiss her. Instead, he opened the truck door for her. Your chariot awaits, ma'am. The restaurant was busy when they arrived, filled with Meadow Springs upper crust in their designer clothes and flashy jewelry. Emma felt self-conscious in her simple dress, but Nathan's hand on the small of her back gave her courage as they approached the hostess. Do you have a reservation? The young woman asked, looking skeptical. No, but Emma began. Carter, Nathan interrupted smoothly. Reservation for 2. The hostess's demeanor changed instantly. Oh, Mr. Carter, yes. We have your table ready. Please follow me. Emma shot Nathan a questioning look. You made a reservation. When? This afternoon, he said casually. Thought it might be busy on a Friday night. The hostess led them to a secluded table by the window with a view of the town square. A small vase of fresh flowers sat in the center of the table, and the settings were elegant without being pretentious. Your server will be right with you, the hostess said, suddenly much friendlier than she'd been at the door. Once they were seated, Emma leaned forward. They treated you like you're somebody important. Nathan looked uncomfortable. I just called ahead, that's all. Before Emma could press further, their server appeared with a bottle of expensive champagne. Compliments of the house, Mr. Carter. Nathan thanked him, and the server poured 2 glasses before disappearing again. Okay, what's going on? Emma demanded. The house doesn't send free champagne to farmhands. Nathan sighed, running a finger around the rim of his glass. I may have visited here once or twice before I came to your farm. And I might have tipped well. He shrugged, but wouldn't meet her eyes. Emma wanted to ask more questions, but the server returned to take their orders. As they ate, the conversation flowed easily to other topics. The farm, Emma's plans for the loan money, childhood memories. Nathan was charming and attentive, making Emma laugh with stories of his misadventures growing up in Nebraska. It was the most relaxed Emma had felt in years, sitting in this fancy restaurant across from a man who looked at her like she was something precious. For one evening, she allowed herself to forget about the farm's troubles, Victoria's snide remarks, the constant struggle to make ends meet. For one evening, she was just a woman enjoying dinner with a man she was falling for. Their perfect evening was interrupted by an unwelcome voice. Emma Wilson. In Meadow Springs' finest restaurant. Will wonders never cease? Victoria Blackwell stood beside their table, elegant in a designer dress, Marcus hovering awkwardly behind her. 2 other couples, all members of Victoria's elite circle, watched with barely concealed amusement. Hello, Victoria, Emma said, forcing a polite smile. Lovely to see you. Victoria's gaze shifted to Nathan, and her expression softened. And Nathan, what a surprise. Still playing farmer, I see. Not playing, Mrs. Blackwell, Nathan replied calmly. Working, and enjoying every minute of it. Victoria laughed as if he'd said something charming. How quaint. You know, my offer still stands. Marcus's development company is always looking for men with potential. She emphasized the word while looking pointedly at Emma, the implication clear. Nathan had potential. Emma did not. Emma felt the familiar burn of humiliation, but before she could respond, Nathan reached across the table and took her hand. "I appreciate the thought, Mrs. Blackwell, but I'm very happy where I am." His thumb traced gentle circles on Emma's palm. "Emma's farm is thriving, and we're celebrating some excellent news tonight." Victoria's smile tightened. "Oh? Don't tell me you're engaged. That would be moving rather quickly, wouldn't it?" Emma choked on her champagne. "We've been approved for a substantial agricultural loan," Nathan said smoothly, still holding Emma's hand. "Willow Creek Farm is expanding." Victoria's eyes narrowed slightly. "How nice for you. Though I'm surprised any bank would invest in that old place. People recognize value, Victoria." Emma found her voice at last. "Even if it doesn't come in designer packaging." Victoria's perfectly lined lips pressed together. "Well, don't let us interrupt your celebration." She turned to the rest of her party. "Shall we? Our table is ready." As they walked away, Emma let out a breath. "That woman." Nathan squeezed her hand, which was still in his. "You handled her perfectly." Emma suddenly became aware that they were holding hands across the table like a real couple. She pulled back gently, confused by the mix of emotions Nathan stirred in her. "Thank you for standing up for me," she said softly. Again. Nathan's eyes were serious as they met hers. Victoria Blackwell and her kind have been looking down on hard-working people their whole lives. They think money and status are the only things that matter. His expression darkened. "They're wrong." There was a passion in his voice that surprised Hemant, and that hint of something more, some deeper knowledge or experience that he wasn't sharing. "You sound like you've dealt with people like her before," Emma observed carefully. Nathan looked away. "Let's just say I recognize the type." The server appeared with dessert menus, breaking the moment. By unspoken agreement, they moved to lighter topics for the remainder of the meal. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Nathan was hiding something important from her. The next morning, Emma was in the barn feeding the new calves when her phone rang. It was her friend Lucy who owned the local diner. "Emma, why didn't you tell me you were dating a millionaire?" Emma nearly dropped the feed bucket. "What are you talking about?" "Nathan Carter! The whole town's buzzing about you two at Preston's. Last night, Victoria Blackwell is absolutely livid." "Lucy, slow down. Nathan works for me. He's not a millionaire. He's a farmhand." Lucy snorted. "A farmhand who pays his bill with a platinum card and leaves $100 tips. A farmhand who the restaurant owner personally comes out to greet." "Emma, wake up." Emma's heart began to pound uncomfortably. "That's ridiculous. Nathan grew up on a farm in Nebraska. His family lost everything to corporate agriculture." "Well, he sure bounced back then," Lucy replied. "Listen, I'm just telling you what everyone's saying. Thomas at the hardware store said Nathan bought a bunch of expensive equipment for your farm last month, paid cash." "What? No, he didn't." But even as she denied it, Emma remembered how the broken tractor had mysteriously started working again, how Nathan had replaced worn tools without asking for reimbursement, how he'd fixed the leak in the barn roof with materials that happened to be on sale. "Just be careful, Emma," Lucy said, her voice softening. "I don't want to see you get hurt." After hanging up, Emma stood frozen in the barn, her mind racing. It couldn't be true. Nathan wasn't rich. He drove an old pickup truck, wore worn jeans, worked harder than anyone she'd ever met. But there were moments. The way he'd handled Victoria so confidently, how he seemed unfazed by the fancy restaurant, the hostess's reaction to his name, the free champagne, and now Lucy's story about the platinum card and expensive equipment. Determined to get answers, Emma marched toward the north field where Nathan was mending fence posts. As she approached, she saw him talking on a cell phone, not the basics model he usually carried, but something sleek and expensive looking. "The investment needs to happen now," he was saying, his voice different, more authoritative, more polished. "Delay is not an option. The agricultural sector in this region is prime for development, but it has to be done right, no cutting corners." Emma stopped in her tracks. a chill running down her spine despite the summer heat. Nathan continued unaware of her presence. The loan approval was just the first step. We need to move forward with phase 2 immediately. Yes, I understand the board's concerns, but I've been here long enough to know what we're dealing with. The Willow Creek model could be replicated across the Midwest if we play this right. Emma's blood ran cold. The loan. Nathan had something to do with her loan approval. And what was this talk of development and the Willow Creek model? Nathan turned slightly and saw her standing there. His eyes widened and he quickly ended the call. Emma, I didn't see you there. Obviously, she said, her voice trembling slightly. What was that about, Nathan? What investment? What development? And what does my loan have to do with it? Nathan paled. Emma, I can explain. Are you even a farmhand? She demanded, anger rising to replace her shock. Or was that all part of some sort of plan? It's complicated, Nathan said, taking a step toward her. Emma stepped back. No, it's really not. Either you've been honest with me or you've been lying since the day you showed up. Nathan ran a hand through his hair, his expression pained. I have been honest about the important things, about how I feel about the farm, about how I feel about you. Who are you? Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan took a deep breath. My name is Nathan Carter. That part is true, but I'm not just a farmhand. He hesitated. I'm the CEO of Carter Agricultural Investments. We specialize in supporting sustainable family farms across the country. Emma felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. You're a CEO of an investment company. She took another step back. You've been lying to me this whole time. Not lying exactly, Nathan said, reaching for her. Just not telling the whole truth. Emma jerked away from his touch. Why? Was this some kind of game to you? Slumming with the poor farm girl? No. Nathan looked genuinely distressed. Emma, please listen. I came to Meadow Springs to evaluate it for a new agricultural investment program. I wanted to understand the community, the real challenges facing small farms before committing millions of dollars. So I was research? Emma's voice cracked. A case study for your company? You were never supposed to be part of the equation, Nathan said desperately. I was just going to observe, gather information. But then I met you at the farmer's market, heard about your struggle to keep Willow Creek going, and I wanted to help by pretending to be someone you're not, by manipulating my loan application. Emma's anger was building now, fueled by hurt and betrayal. Did you pull strings at the bank? Nathan had the grace to look ashamed. Our company has a partnership with National Agricultural Bank. I might have mentioned your application to the regional manager. I don't need your charity, Emma spat. I don't need your pity. It wasn't charity or pity, Nathan insisted. Your farm is exactly the kind of operation our company wants to support. You deserved that loan on the merits of your work. I just made sure they saw that. Emma laughed bitterly. Right. And what about everything else? Was working here part of your research too? Getting to know the local yokel up close and personal? At first, maybe, Nathan admitted. But Emma, everything changed. I wasn't expecting to care about you the way I care about me. Emma shook her head. You don't even know me. You know the character you created in your little experiment. Poor Emma Wilson, desperately clinging to her failing farm, needing a rich savior to sweep in and fix everything. That's not how I see you at all, Nathan protested. I admire you, Emma. Your strength, your determination, your love for this land. That's real. And what about last night? Emma demanded. Was that real too? Letting me think we were celebrating my accomplishment when you knew you'd orchestrated the whole thing? I wanted to tell you the truth, Nathan said. I've been trying to find the right moment. Well, congratulations, Emma said coldly. You found it. Now get off my property. Emma, please, no. She held up a hand to stop him. I trusted you, Nathan. I let you into my life, my farm, my heart. She didn't add. Nathan looked stricken. At least let me explain everything. My company isn't like the corporate giants that forced my family out. We're trying to preserve family farms, not destroy them. Save it for your board meeting. Emma said, turning away to hide the tears threatening to spill. I want you gone by the time I get back to the house. She walked away, her back straight and her head high despite the storm of emotions tearing through her. Behind her, she heard Nathan call her name once more, but she didn't turn around. Victoria Blackwell was enjoying her morning coffee on her expansive patio when her husband brought in the mail. There's something here you might find interesting, Marcus said, handing her a business magazine. Victoria glanced at the cover and nearly spilled her coffee. There, under the headline, America's 40 Under 40, the next generation of business leaders, was a familiar face. Nathan Carter, looking polished in an expensive suit, so different from the farmhand clothes she'd seen him in. Nathan Carter, 35, CEO of Carter Agricultural Investments, she read aloud, her eyes widening. The article says he's worth, oh my God, Marcus, he's a billionaire. Marcus peered over her shoulder. Isn't that the guy working at the Wilson farm, the one you've been trying to recruit for my development company? Victoria's mind was racing. Nathan Carter, one of the country's wealthiest young entrepreneurs, was living in Meadow Springs working as a farmhand for Emma Wilson. It made no sense. His company specializes in sustainable agriculture investments, Victoria continued reading. Last year, they committed over $200 million to saving family farms across the Midwest. Why would a man like that pretend to be a farmhand? Marcus wondered. Victoria's lips curved into a calculating smile. That's what I intend to find out. She reached for her phone. And I think our friend Emma Wilson might be very interested in this information too. Victoria dialed Emma's number. The magazine spread open before her. This was going to change everything, and if Victoria played her cards right, she might finally get what she'd wanted for years. Willow Creek Farm. As the phone rang, Victoria rehearsed her sympathetic voice. Poor Emma, duped by a billionaire playing farmer. How embarrassing for her. How humiliating, just the way Victoria liked it. Emma moved through her morning chores like a sleepwalker. 3 days had passed since she'd discovered Nathan's true identity and ordered him off her property. 3 days of struggling to manage the farm alone again. 3 days of fighting back tears every time she passed the spots where they'd worked together, laughed together. She was in the barn milking the cows when her phone rang. Victoria Blackwell's name flashed on the screen. Emma nearly didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of her. Hello, Victoria. Emma, darling. Victoria's voice dripped with fake concern. I just had to call and see how you're doing. Such a shocking revelation about your farmhand. Emma's stomach tightened. What are you talking about? Oh, you don't know. Victoria sounded delighted. Nathan Carter is one of the richest men in the country, CEO of Carter Agricultural Investments, worth billions according to this magazine I'm looking at right now. Emma's hand trembled as she gripped the phone. Nathan had said he was a CEO, but billions. He was that wealthy, and still he'd pretended to be a simple farmhand. I know who he is, Victoria, Emma lied, trying to keep her voice steady. Do you? Victoria wasn't buying it. Then you must also know he's been buying up properties all around your area. Marcus says Carter's company has acquired 3 farms in the next county just this month. This was new information, and it hit Emma like a physical blow. What? Oh yes. Apparently, your little farm is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Victoria paused for effect. Though I must say, his method of research was certainly thorough. Living among the simple folk, getting his hands dirty, even dating the local farmer. Such dedication to his role. Emma's cheeks burned with humiliation. Of course, the whole town knew by now. They were all laughing at her. Poor, naive Emma. Wilson, who thought a billionaire actually cared about her. I have to go, Victoria. The animals need feeding. Emma started to hang up. Wait, Victoria said quickly. I'm actually calling with good news. Marcus's development company is prepared to make you a very generous offer for Willow Creek. Given the circumstances, we thought you might be reconsidering your position. Emma's grief turned to anger. Let me get this straight. You think because Nathan Carter lied to me, I'll sell my family's farm to you? I think you've been burned by one wealthy businessman and might appreciate an honest offer from another, Victoria replied smoothly. No games, Emma. Just a fair price for land that's becoming increasingly valuable. My answer is still no, Victoria. Goodbye. Emma hung up and sank onto a hay bale, burying her face in her hands. Victoria's news had only confirmed what she already knew. Nathan had been playing a role, studying her like some kind of specimen for his investment portfolio. And yet, some of it didn't make sense. If Nathan was buying up farms, why hadn't he just offered to buy Willow Creek? Why go through this elaborate charade of working as a farmhand, and those moments between them, their dance at the festival, dinner at the restaurant, the almost kiss on her porch, had they meant nothing? To him, Emma shook her head, forcing herself to focus on the tasks at hand. The cows didn't care about her broken heart. They still needed milking. Nathan Carter sat in his temporary office in town, staring at financial projections that no longer held his interest. He'd tried calling Emma dozens of times since that terrible confrontation, but she wouldn't answer. He'd sent flowers which had been returned. He'd even written a long letter explaining everything, but it had come back unopened. He'd never meant for things to go this way. What had started as a simple research trip had turned into something much more meaningful. He'd come to Meadow Springs to evaluate it for his company's Family Farm Initiative, a program designed to keep independent farmers on their land while providing the capital and technology they needed to compete with corporate agriculture. He hadn't planned on meeting someone like Emma. Strong, determined, passionate about her land and her animals. She was everything he admired, everything his own family had lost when their Nebraska farm went under. Watching her fight for Willow Creek had reminded him why he'd started his company in the first place, and somewhere along the way, between early morning chores and late-night talks on her porch, he'd fallen in love with her. His assistant, Claire, knocked on the door. "Mr. Carter, the board is waiting for your decision on the Meadow Springs project." Nathan sighed. "Tell them I need more time," Claire frowned. "Sir, they've been very patient, but we need to move forward. Other companies are starting to notice the potential here. If we don't secure the necessary properties—" "I said I need more time," Nathan snapped, then immediately regretted his tone. "I'm sorry." "Claire, it's just complicated." "It's the Wilson farm, isn't it?" Claire asked gently. "Your undercover approach didn't work out." Nathan laughed bitterly. "You could say that." "If I may, sir," Claire said carefully, "perhaps it's time to take a more direct approach. Make Ms. Wilson a formal offer she can't refuse." "That's not how this works," Nathan said firmly. "The whole point of the Family Farm Initiative is to keep farmers on their land, not buy them out. Emma Wilson belongs at Willow Creek. I just need to convince her that our program can help her keep it." Claire nodded, though she looked skeptical. "And your personal feelings for Ms. Wilson have nothing to do with this decision?" Nathan met his assistant's eyes. "They have everything to do with it. I'm not going to lie about that." After Claire left, Nathan stared out the window at the small town street below. He'd made a terrible mistake by not being honest with Emma from the beginning. Now she believed the worst of him, that he was just another wealthy businessman, trying to take advantage of her. He needed to show her the truth, not just tell her, but how. Emma was struggling to fix the fence in the north pasture, a job that would have taken half the time with Nathan's help, when a sleek black car pulled up her driveway. She watched suspiciously as a woman in a business suit stepped out, carrying a leather portfolio. "Emma Wilson," the woman called, walking toward her. "That's me," Emma replied, wiping her hands on her jeans. "I'm Claire Davis, executive assistant." To Nathan Carter. The woman extended her hand. Emma didn't take it. "If Nathan sent you to buy my farm, you're wasting your time." Claire smiled slightly. "Mr. Carter didn't send me. In fact, he'd probably fire me if he knew I was here." That caught Emma's attention. "Then why are you here?" "Because my boss is miserable, making terrible business decisions, and needs someone to knock some sense into him." Claire looked Emma up and down. "I thought you might be that someone." "Me?" Emma laughed incredulously. "I'm the last person Nathan Carter wants to see right now. On the contrary, you're the only person he wants to see." Claire opened her portfolio. "Ms. Wilson, how much do you know about Carter Agricultural Investments?" "Not much," Emma admitted. "Just that they're buying up farms." Claire shook her head. "Not buying, saving." She handed Emma a glossy brochure. The Family Farm Initiative doesn't purchase farmland. It provides capital, technology, and market access to help independent farmers stay competitive against corporate agriculture. Emma flipped through the brochure skeptically. It showed smiling farmers standing proudly on their land, modern equipment in their fields, and charts of increased profits. If that's true, why did Nathan lie about who he was? Why the whole farmhand act? Nathan grew up on a family farm in Nebraska, Claire said. His parents lost everything to corporate agriculture when he was 19. He worked his way through college, then made his fortune in tech before starting CAI specifically to prevent what happened to his family from happening to others. That part was true? Emma asked softly. Claire nodded. Nathan comes to every potential. Investment site personally, works the land, gets to know the farmers. He believes you can't truly understand a farm from a boardroom. She smiled wryly. It's unorthodox, but it's made him very successful. Until now. What's different now? You. Claire's gaze was direct. He's fallen in love with you, Ms. Wilson, and it's clouding his judgment. Emma's heart skipped a beat, but she pushed the feeling away. If he loved me, he wouldn't have lied to me. He made a mistake, Claire acknowledged, but his feelings for you are genuine, and so is his commitment to saving family farms like yours. I don't need saving, Emma said firmly. No, you don't, Claire agreed, but you do need what CAI offers: capital to upgrade your equipment, technology to increase your yields, and access to markets willing to pay premium prices for sustainably grown local produce. Emma was silent, trying to process everything. Nathan's company did sound like it aligned with her own values. If what Claire was saying was true, his intentions had been good, even if his methods were deceptive. Why are you telling me all this? She asked finally. Claire closed her portfolio. Because Nathan, here's too proud to come groveling back, and you're too hurt to reach out to him. Meanwhile, Victoria Blackwell is working with Midwest Developments to put together a plan that would turn half this county into suburban housing. Emma's head snapped up. What? They've already secured options on 2 neighboring properties, Claire continued. Your farm is next on their list. Nathan has been trying to block them, but without Willow Creek as part of our initiative, we don't have enough leverage. So this is about business after all, Emma said bitterly. For me, perhaps, Claire admitted, but not for Nathan. He'd walk away from the entire Meadow Springs project for you. She handed Emma a business card. Just think about it, Ms. Wilson. A lot of people's futures depend on what you decide. As Claire drove away, Emma stared at the business card in her hand. Could she trust what the woman had said? Or was this just another ploy to get control of her land? Sassy Nathan was reviewing contract documents when his office door burst open. Victoria Blackwell swept in, followed by a flustered Claire. I'm sorry, Mr. Carter. She wouldn't wait. It's fine, Claire, Nathan said, rising from his desk. Mrs. Blackwell, what can I do for you? Victoria's smile was predatory. Nathan, or should I call you Mr. Carter now? I think it's time we had an honest conversation. Nathan gestured for her to sit. I'm all for honesty. Good. Victoria settled elegantly into a chair. Because I know what you're planning in Meadow Springs, and I'm here to offer you a better alternative. I'm listening. Victoria opened her designer handbag and removed a folder. Midwest Developments has been working with my husband's company to create a comprehensive plan for this region. Housing, shopping, recreational facilities, a complete transformation that would bring jobs and prosperity. And eliminate farmland, Nathan added. Victoria waved her hand dismissively. Progress requires change. These small farms barely break even. The owners would be better off selling. That's for them to decide, Nathan said coolly. Which brings me to my proposal. Victoria slid the folder across the desk. Midwest is prepared to offer you a partnership. Your company's reputation for ethical investment would lend credibility to our project, and the returns would be substantial. Nathan didn't touch the folder. My company doesn't invest in developments that displace farmers. Victoria's smile tightened. Even when those farmers have no future. Be realistic, Nathan. Emma Wilson can barely keep her lights on. She's one bad season away from bankruptcy. You don't know Emma as well as you think. And you do? Victoria laughed. After playing farmhand for a few weeks, the woman is stubborn and naive. She's clinging to a dying way of life out of some misplaced sentimentality. Nathan's jaw clenched. That sentimentality is called integrity, something you might not recognize. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Careful, Mr. Carter. I may be a small-town mayor's wife, but I have influence here. Your little farming initiative won't get far if the town council opposes it. Is that a threat? A reality check? Victoria stood, smoothing her skirt. Emma Wilson will never trust you again. She thinks you used her, studied her like a lab rat, and now that the truth is out, she's more determined than ever to go it alone. Nathan tried not to show how her words affected him. You seem very informed about Emma's feelings. We had a lovely chat this morning, Victoria said smugly. She was quite upset about your deception. Poor thing. The thought of Victoria twisting. The knife in Emma's wound made Nathan's blood boil, but he kept his expression neutral. Was there anything else, Mrs. Blackwell? Victoria gathered her handbag. Just consider my offer. Midwest won't wait forever, and neither will I. She walked to the door, then turned. Oh, and Nathan, Emma is having dinner at my house tomorrow night. Marcus invited her to discuss a potential offer for her farm. After your betrayal, she might finally be ready to listen. After Victoria left, Nathan sat motionless, his mind racing. Was Emma really considering selling to the Blackwells? Would his lies drive her straight into their waiting arms? No, he couldn't let that happen. Not to Emma, and not to Willow Creek. It was time to show Emma the truth, all of it. No more secrets, no more strategies, just his heart, as vulnerable and exposed as he could make it, and he knew exactly how to do it. Emma stood in front of the Blackwells' mansion, feeling out of place in her one good dress. She hadn't wanted to come, but Marcus had been persistent, promising to discuss agricultural easements that would allow her to keep farming while selling development rights to certain portions of her land. It sounded too good to be true, which probably meant it was. But after Claire's visit, Emma felt she needed to understand exactly what the Blackwells were planning. A uniformed maid answered the door and led Emma to an opulent living room where Victoria was entertaining several guests, all members of Meadow Springs' upper crust. Victoria's smile was triumphant as she called out, "Everyone, look who's here. Emma Wilson has finally joined us." Emma immediately regretted coming. This wasn't a business dinner. It was a social event where she would be the main attraction, the simple farm girl invited to dine with her betters. "Emma, darling, you remember everyone," Victoria said, gesturing around the room. "We were just discussing the exciting changes. Coming to our little town." "What changes?" Emma asked warily. Marcus appeared at her side, drink in hand. "That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Midwest Developments has big plans for Meadow Springs. Very big plans." "Including my farm?" Emma asked directly. "Including the entire agricultural belt," Marcus replied smoothly. "But your property is particularly valuable because of its water rights and central location." Victoria joined them, linking her arm through her husband's. "Marcus's company is prepared to offer you a very generous package, Emma, enough for you to start fresh somewhere else. Maybe even go back to school, learn a new trade." "I don't want a new trade," Emma said firmly. "I'm a farmer." "But for how much longer?" Victoria asked with fake concern. "Small farms like yours are becoming obsolete. Corporate agriculture is the future." "Not necessarily," said a familiar voice from behind them. Emma turned to see Nathan standing in the doorway. He was dressed in a tailored suit that emphasized his broad shoulders, looking every inch the successful CEO. But his eyes, when they met hers, held the same warmth she remembered from their evenings on her porch. "Mr. Carter," Victoria said, recovering quickly, "I didn't realize you'd be joining us." "I invited myself," Nathan replied, his eyes never leaving Emma's face. "I thought it was time for some honesty about the future of Meadow Springs." The room fell silent as Nathan walked toward them. Emma felt rooted to the spot, her heart racing at the sight of him after so many days apart. "What are you doing here, Nathan?" she asked quietly. "Fixing my mistake," he replied. "If you'll let me." Victoria stepped between them. Nathan, this is hardly the place for personal matters. On the contrary, Nathan said, it's the perfect place. You've gathered all the influential people in town to discuss Meadow Springs' future. I'd like to be part of that conversation. Marcus looked uncomfortable, but gestured to the center of the room. By all means, Nathan addressed the assembled guests. For those who don't know me, I'm Nathan Carter, CEO of Carter Agricultural Investments. My company has been evaluating Meadow Springs for a new program we're launching, the Family Farm Initiative. He briefly explained the program, emphasizing how it would preserve the agricultural character of the region while making small farms economically viable in the modern market. This sounds very noble, Victoria interrupted, but Midwest Developments has already secured options on several properties. Their plan for mixed-use development would bring more jobs and tax revenue and destroy generations of farming heritage, Nathan countered, not to mention the environmental impact. As the two visions for Meadow Springs' future were debated, Emma watched Nathan closely. He was passionate, articulate, and clearly committed to preserving family farms. This was a side of him she hadn't seen before, the businessman who used his wealth and influence to fight for what he believed in. It was impressive. Finally, Nathan turned to Emma, but ultimately none of this matters without the cooperation of the farmers themselves, particularly those with key properties like Willow Creek Farm. The room's attention shifted to Emma, and she felt the weight of expectation pressing down on her. Ms. Wilson, Nathan said formally, I owe you an apology. I came to your farm under false pretenses. I presented myself as something I'm not. I betrayed your trust, and for that I am deeply sorry. Emma swallowed hard, fighting the emotion his words stirred. But I need you to know that while my identity was a lie, nothing else was. Nathan's voice softened. Not my admiration for your strength and determination, not my respect for how you care for your land and animals, and certainly not my feelings for you. Victoria made a derisive noise. Really, Nathan, this is hardly appropriate. Nathan ignored her, his eyes fixed on Emma's. I didn't come to Meadow Springs looking for anything beyond a business opportunity, but I found something far more valuable on your farm, Emma. I found my way back to what matters, the connection to the land, to honest work, to a life of purpose and integrity. I found my way back to the values my parents taught me before. They lost everything. The room was utterly silent now, everyone watching the drama unfold. I know I hurt you, Nathan continued. I know I damaged your trust. But I'm asking for a chance to make it right. Not just for you and me, but for all the farmers in this region who deserve a fighting chance against corporate takeovers and reckless development. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small thumb drive. This contains the complete Family Farm Initiative proposal for Meadow Springs. No secrets, no hidden agendas, just an honest plan to preserve agricultural land while making it profitable for the farmers who work it. He held it out to Emma. You don't have to make any decisions right now. Just promise you'll look at it before you make any deals with Midwest or anyone else. Emma stared at the thumb drive, aware that every eye in the room was on her. She thought of Claire's visit, of Victoria's thinly veiled threats, of Nathan working beside her day after day, respecting her farm and her way of life, in a way no one else ever had. Slowly, she reached out and took the thumb drive. I'll look at it. Relief flooded Nathan's face. Thank you. Victoria stepped forward, her smile tight. Well, this has been quite entertaining, but I believe dinner is ready. Shall we move to the dining room? But Emma wasn't finished. Actually, Victoria, I think I'll pass on dinner. I have a lot to think about. She turned to Nathan. Would you walk me out? Outside in the cool evening air, away from prying eyes and ears, Emma finally asked the question that had been haunting her. Why didn't you just tell me the truth from the beginning? Why the whole farmhand charade? Nathan leaned against the porch railing, the light from the house illuminating half his face. When I first came to Meadow Springs, you were just another farmer on my list to evaluate. I've found that people are more honest when they don't know I'm a potential investor. They show me who they really are. And did I pass your test, Emma? Asked, a trace of bitterness in her voice. There was no test, Emma, not after the first day. Nathan stepped closer. You blew me away with your passion for that farm, your knowledge, your refusal to give up despite all the pressure. You weren't a data point or a case study. You were extraordinary." Emma felt her resolve weakening. "Nathan, I kept meaning to tell you the truth," he said softly. "But the longer I waited, the harder it became. I was afraid of losing what we were building, afraid you'd see me differently." "I do see you differently," Emma admitted. "I don't know who you really are." "Yes, you do." Nathan took her hands in his. "I'm the man who fixed your tractor, who helped deliver that calf at 3 a.m, who danced with you at the festival and defended you to Victoria Blackwell. That's the real me, Emma. The rest, the money, the company, that's just circumstance." Emma wanted to believe him, but there was too much at stake. Her heart, her farm, her future. "I need time," she said finally. "Time to think about all of this." Nathan nodded, releasing her hands. "I understand. Just know that whatever you decide about the initiative, about your farm, my feelings for you won't change." As Emma drove home, the thumb drive heavy in her pocket, she felt torn between hope and fear. Could she trust Nathan again? Was his family farm initiative truly what it seemed? Or was she being naive, seeing what she wanted to see in a man who had already deceived her once? The answers waited on the thumb drive, and perhaps in her own heart. Emma sat at her kitchen table late into the night examining the documents on Nathan's thumb drive. The family farm initiative was everything Claire had described. A comprehensive program designed to preserve independent agriculture while making it economically viable in today's market. The proposal for Meadow Springs included low-interest loans, shared equipment programs, technological assistance, and guaranteed contracts with high-end restaurants and grocery chains willing to pay premium prices for locally sourced produce. Most importantly, the farmers would retain full ownership of their land and autonomy in their operations. It was, in a word, perfect. Exactly what Willow Creek Farm and all the small farms in the region needed to survive. But could she trust it? Could she trust Nathan? As dawn broke over the eastern fields, Emma made coffee and stepped onto her porch. The farm looked different in the soft morning light, full of potential rather than merely challenges. Her parents had loved this land fiercely, just as she did. What would they advise her to do? Her father had always said, "Judge people by their actions, not their words." Nathan had lied about his identity, yes, but his actions while working alongside her had been genuine. The long hours, the careful attention to the animals, the respect he'd shown for her farm and her way of life. By the time the sun had fully risen, Emma had made her decision. Nathan was reviewing applications for the Family Farm Initiative when his phone rang. His heart raced when he saw Emma's name on the screen. "Emma," he answered eagerly. "I'm glad you called. I've been looking over your proposal," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "I have some questions." "Of course." Nathan tried not to read too much into the fact that she'd called. "I'm happy to explain anything that's unclear." "Not over the phone?" Emma replied. "Can you come to the farm? There are some specific concerns I want to discuss on site." "I'll be there in 30 minutes, Nathan said, already reaching for his jacket. When he arrived at Willow Creek, Emma was waiting by the barn. She looked beautiful in her simple work clothes, her hair pulled back in its usual ponytail. She'd never needed fancy dresses or makeup to take his breath away. "Thank you for coming," she said formally, as if he were any business associate. "Thank you for giving me a chance to explain," Nathan replied, matching her professional tone though. It pained him. Emma led him to the north pasture, where they'd had their confrontation days earlier. "My first question is about the water rights," she began. "Your proposal mentions shared irrigation systems, but it's not clear how that would work with existing—" "Emma," Nathan interrupted gently. "Are we really going to do this? Pretend this is just about business?" Emma met his eyes for the first time. "What else would it be about? You know what else." Nathan took a step closer. "I've missed you, Emma. Every day, every hour." A flicker of emotion crossed her face before she looked away. "You hurt me, Nathan." "I know," he said softly, "and I'll regret that for the rest of my life." But I'm here now, being completely honest. No more secrets. Emma was silent for a long moment, staring out over her fields. Why didn't you just buy my farm? It would have been easier than this elaborate charade. Because I never wanted to buy your farm, Nathan explained. That's not what the initiative is about. We want farmers like you to keep their land, to keep doing what they love. And what about you? Emma asked, turning to face him again. What do you love, Nathan? The real you, not the farmhand, not the CEO. The question caught him off guard, with its directness. I love... He hesitated, then decided to lay his heart bare. I love early mornings in the barn, when the light's just starting to filter through the cracks. I love the satisfaction of fixing something with my own hands. I love sitting on your porch at the end of a long day watching the sunset with you. Emma's expression softened slightly. Those things don't exactly fit with your billionaire lifestyle. That's what I've been trying to tell you, Nathan said earnestly. The billionaire lifestyle isn't me. It's just circumstance. I made money because I had a goal, to prevent what happened to my family from happening to others. But along the way I lost touch with why I started in the first place. He gestured to the farm around them. Being here, working with you, reminded me what matters, not board meetings or investment portfolios. This, earth and growing things and honest work. Emma studied him, searching for any sign of deception. You expect me to believe a billionaire CEO wants to give it all up for farm life? Not give it all up, Nathan clarified. Use it for something meaningful, something real. He took a deep breath. With someone real. A glimmer of hope sparked in Emma's eyes, but she quickly suppressed it. I still don't understand why you couldn't have been honest from the start. Would you have treated me the same? Nathan asked. If I'd shown up in a fancy car, introduced myself as a billionaire CEO, or would you have seen me like Victoria sees me, a walking checkbook with an agenda? Emma considered this. I might have been suspicious, she admitted. Exactly. Nathan reached for her hand, relieved when she didn't pull away. I needed to see the real Meadow Springs, the real challenges facing farmers here. And I needed you to see the real me, not the CEO, but the farm boy from Nebraska who never forgot where he came from. Emma looked down at their joined hands. And which one? Is the real you? Both, Nathan said simply. But the man who worked beside you these past weeks, who cares about this farm, about you. That's the truest version of me I've been in a long time. Before Emma could respond, the sound of vehicles approaching interrupted them. They turned to see two cars coming up the driveway. Victoria and Marcus Blackwell, followed by a man in an expensive suit. What are they doing here? Nathan frowned. I have no idea, Emma said, her hand tightening in his. Victoria emerged from her car with a triumphant smile. Emma, I'm so glad you're here. And Nathan too, how convenient. What do you want, Victoria? Emma asked warily. To deliver good news in person. Victoria gestured to the man in the suit. This is Robert Jennings, Senior Vice President of Midwest Developments. They've approved our proposal for Meadow Springs. What proposal? Nathan demanded. Marcus stepped forward, looking uncomfortable as usual in his wife's shadow. The town council held an emergency meeting last night. We've granted preliminary approval for Midwest's development plan. Without public input? Emma was incredulous. Without notifying the property owners who would be affected? It was a closed session, Victoria said smoothly, perfectly legal for initial planning purposes. Robert Jennings cleared his throat. Ms. Wilson, we're prepared to make you a very generous offer for your property. Given its central location, it's crucial to our overall vision. I'm not selling, Emma said firmly. Victoria's smile tightened. I think you'll reconsider when you see the numbers, dear, especially considering your financial situation. My financial situation is none of your business, Emma replied. It is when you're 3 months behind on your property taxes, Victoria said with faux concern. Marcus is on the tax board, remember? He sees these things. Emma paled. She was behind on her taxes. It had been a tough year, but she'd been counting on the summer harvest to catch up. That's private information, Nathan said angrily. You had no right to access it, Victoria shrugged. Public records for public officials. The point is, Emma, You can't afford to turn down our offer. She nodded to Jennings, who opened his briefcase and removed a document. $1 million, he said, holding out the paper, well above market value. Emma stared at the offer, momentarily stunned by the figure. It was more money than she'd ever seen, enough to pay off all her debts and start fresh somewhere else. Nathan watched her face carefully. Emma, you don't have to make any decisions right now. Oh, but she does, Victoria interjected. The offer expires in 48 hours. After that, we move on to other options. What other options? Emma asked. Marcus looked at his shoes. The tax situation. The town could initiate proceedings. You're threatening to take her farm for back taxes? Nathan's voice was dangerously quiet. After 3 months? Business is business, Victoria said. Coldly. Meadow Springs needs this development. New jobs, increased tax revenue. It's for the greater good. The greater good, Emma repeated bitterly. Destroying farmland that's been in production for generations is for the greater good? Progress requires change, Victoria insisted. Nathan understands this, don't you, Nathan? Business people have to make tough decisions. Nathan looked at Emma, then back at Victoria. In that moment, he knew exactly what he wanted and what he needed to do. You're right, Victoria, he said calmly. Business people do have to make tough decisions. He turned to Jennings. What's your total investment in the Meadow Springs project so far? Jennings frowned. That's confidential. 20 million? 30, Nathan pressed. I'll double it, right now, for your company to walk away. The developer looked shocked. Mr. Carter, this development represents potential profits of… Triple it then, Nathan interrupted. Carter Agricultural Investments will write the check today. Victoria's face contorted with rage. You can't do that. I just did. Nathan's voice was ice. Mr. Jennings, have your CEO call my office this afternoon. We'll draw up the papers. Jennings hesitated, clearly calculating the offer against projected profits. I'll need to consult with the board, he said finally. You do that, Nathan said. But know this, if you proceed with this development, my company will oppose you at every step. Environmental impact studies, water rights challenges, agricultural preservation lawsuits. We have very deep pockets and very good lawyers. The threat hung in the air. After a tense moment, Jennings nodded stiffly. I'll convey your offer to the board. He turned to Victoria. Mrs. Blackwell, I think we're done here for now. Victoria looked like she might explode. You can't just swoop in and… I believe. Mr. Jennings said you're done here, Emma interrupted, newfound confidence in her voice. This is private property, mine, at least for the next 48 hours. The last part was said with a pointed look at Victoria. Speechless with fury, Victoria stormed back to her car, Marcus trailing behind like a scolded child. Jennings followed more sedately, pulling out his phone as he walked. When they were alone again, Emma turned to Nathan. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, Nathan said simply. That's a lot of money to spend just to stop a development, Emma observed. Nathan shook his head. It's not about the money, Emma. It's about doing what's right, about protecting what matters. He paused, gathering his courage. And you matter to me more than anything. Emma's eyes searched his. Even after everything, I still don't know if I can trust you. Then let me prove it to you, Nathan said earnestly. Not with grand gestures or business deals. Day by day, working beside you, sharing your burdens and your joys, the way we were before. You want to go back to being my farmhand? Emma asked incredulously. I want to be whatever you need me to be, Nathan replied. But mostly I just want to be with you, here, on this land you love. Emma was silent for a long moment. Then she asked the question that had been weighing on her heart. For how long, Nathan? Until you get bored? Until the next business opportunity calls you back to your real life? This is my real life, Nathan said, taking both her hands in his. Or it could be. I've spent years building a company to save family farms, but I forgot what it felt like to actually live on one, to work the land, care for animals, watch things grow. His voice grew softer. I forgot what it felt like to have roots somewhere, to belong, until you reminded me. Emma felt tears prickling behind her eyes. "And what about your company? Your responsibilities?" "Carter Agricultural Investments will continue its work," Nathan said. "I have an excellent team who shares my vision. I don't need to be in a corner office to lead them." He smiled slightly. "Besides, what better place to direct a family farm initiative than from an actual family farm?" "Is that what you want?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "To make Willow Creek your home?" "Our home," Nathan corrected gently. "If you'll have me." The early morning sun illuminated his face, and Emma saw nothing there but sincerity and love. The same love she'd glimpsed in quiet moments in the barn, over shared meals, during that almost kiss on her. "Porch, I'm still mad at you for lying," she said, but there was no heat in her words. "I know," Nathan acknowledged, "and I'll spend as long as it takes earning back your trust." Emma took a deep breath. "The farm equipment needs upgrading." Nathan blinked at the sudden change of subject. "Okay. And the irrigation system is outdated." Emma continued. "The barn roof still leaks in the northwest corner despite your patches. The tractor breaks down at least once a month." "Emma, what are you—" "I'm telling you what you're getting into," she said, stepping closer to him. "If you're serious about staying, about making this your home, you should know it won't be easy. There's always something that needs fixing." "Always more work than hours in the day." Understanding dawned in Nathan's eyes. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying I need a partner, not an employee," Emma said, her face softening into a smile. "Someone who loves this land as much as I do. Someone who sees its value beyond dollars and cents." "That's me," Nathan said fervently. "That's exactly me." "It won't be the life you're used to," Emma warned. Nathan laughed. "Thank God for that." He pulled her closer. "Emma Wilson, I love you. I love your stubborn determination, your gentle hands. With the animals, your fierce defense of this land. I love the way you see through pretense to what matters, and if you'll let me, I'll spend the rest of my life loving you, right here on this farm." Emma's last defenses crumbled. "I love you, too," she whispered. "The real you, whoever that turns out to be." This time, when Nathan leaned down to kiss her, there was no hesitation, no pulling away. Emma rose to meet him, her arms circling his neck as his wrapped around her waist. The kiss was everything their almost moment on the porch had promised, tender and passionate and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Emma rested her forehead against his chest. "So what happens now?" Nathan smiled, his fingers gently running through her hair. "Now we get to work. The crops won't harvest themselves, and those calves need feeding." Emma laughed, joy bubbling up inside her. Always the practical farmhand. "Always," Nathan agreed, kissing her forehead. "But first—" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn object, a simple golden band with a tiny diamond. "This was my mother's. My dad gave it to her when they bought their first farm together. It's not fancy, but it means something." Emma's breath caught as Nathan dropped to one knee in the soft earth of their farm. "I'm not asking yet," he clarified quickly. "I know we have a lot to figure out, a lot of trust to rebuild, but I want you to have this as a promise. A promise that I'm here to stay, that Willow Creek is where I belong, with you." Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks as she took the ring, running her finger over its worn surface. "It's perfect," she whispered. Nathan stood and pulled her into his arms again. "We'll make this work, Emma. The farm, the initiative, us, all of it." Emma believed him. For the first time in years, she looked out over Willow Creek Farm and saw not just challenges, but possibilities. With Nathan beside her, the real Nathan, both the hard-working farmhand and the visionary businessman, she could preserve her family's legacy and build something new, something that was theirs. 6 months later, Emma stood in the renovated barn, watching as dozens of local farmers mingled with agricultural experts from Carter Investments. The launch of the Meadow Springs Family Farm Initiative was officially underway, with Willow Creek Farm serving as its headquarters and demonstration site. The changes to the farm were subtle but significant: updated equipment, a state-of-the-art irrigation system, solar panels on the barn roof. Nathan had been true to his word, making improvements that respected the farm's character, while increasing its efficiency. "There you are," Nathan said, appearing at her side. He looked different than he had that first day. His clothes were still practical workwear but of better quality, and his hands, while still calloused from daily farm work, now sported a simple gold band on the left ring finger that matched the one Emma wore. They'd married in a small ceremony right here on the farm 3 months ago, with only their closest friends in attendance. To Emma's surprise, even Victoria had sent a gift, an expensive crystal vase delivered by Marcus, who'd quietly apologized for his wife's schemes. The Midwest development had been permanently shelved after Nathan's intervention, and Marcus had subsequently lost his bid for re-election. Victoria's social standing had diminished accordingly, though she remained as prideful as ever in public. "Penny, for your thoughts?" Nathan asked, slipping an arm around Emma's waist. Emma leaned into him, watching as Claire led a group of farmers through a presentation on sustainable crop rotation. "I was just thinking about how much has changed, how much you changed things." "We changed things," Nathan corrected. "Together." Emma smiled up at him. "You know, when you first showed up looking for work, I thought you were too good to be true." "I was," Nathan admitted with a grin. "Just not in the way you thought." Emma laughed, the sound echoing in the barn they'd rebuilt together. "Well, I think we've finally figured out who the real Nathan Carter is." "And?" Nathan raised an eyebrow. "What's the verdict?" Emma reached up to touch his face, tracing the lines that 6 months of honest farm work had deepened around his eyes. "He's a simple farm boy at heart, with a very complicated bank account." Nathan laughed and pulled her closer. "As long as he has a simple farm girl who loves him, that's all that matters." As they stood together, watching their vision for Meadow Springs' future unfold, Emma knew they'd found something precious, a love built on shared values, mutual respect, and a deep connection to the land they both cherished. The wealthy elite of Meadow Springs had mocked her simple life, never realizing its true value. But Nathan had seen it from the beginning, even through his deception. He'd recognized what was real and worth fighting for, and together they would ensure that Willow Creek Farm, and farms like it across the country, would thrive for generations to come. Not just as places that grew food, but as places that grew love, community, and hope for the future. The end.